Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lauren Coleman here with Chad Silver. We have Eric Chilton, Jalen Gilkey, and Monique Robinson. Gang all here today.
And you cannot avoid us no matter where you go.
We're everywhere.
The 4 to 5 is everywhere. We're on TV, we're online, also on Fire Stick and Roku.
We're like a creeping vine.
Yep, you won't get rid of
everywhere.
us. Those weeds that you see outside, right?
It's a kudzu.
And we're also on Facebook too, so make sure you join us, chat with us during the show. Lots to talk about, including the Carolina Classic Fair. Organizers will discuss how to safely hold the fair this year. Organizers are meeting in the next 30 minutes to review preparations and safety protocols. Last year's fair was scaled back because of the pandemic and became a drive-through instead, where people could buy food, drinks, and merchandise. This year's fair is scheduled to begin on October 1st. Our Sydney Moore is following that meeting and will bring you updates tonight at 5 and 6. This year's fair will be the first in-person event after the fair's name changed. Last year was supposed to be the fair's debut under the new name as the Carolina Classic Fair, but the drive-through event was held instead. Back in 2019, the Winston-Salem City Council voted to change the fair's name from the Dixie Classic Fair to the Carolina Classic Fair.
Also happening today, the Davidson County Board of Education is meeting as the district deals with more coronavirus cases. The district says 260 students have tested positive, 273 are in quarantine. 48 teachers have also tested positive, 29 are in quarantine. The board is expected to revisit its mask policy. Last night, the Rockingham County School Board voted to keep its mask policy in place. Right now, more than 1,000 students are in quarantine. 123 have tested positive.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. A tanker truck driver is dead after an accident on Bellevue Creek Road. Duke Energy said the truck got tangled in power lines and caused 40 customers to lose power, but the lights are back on for those customers. The truck was filled with 6,000 gallons of a highly flammable substance, and some spilled onto the road after the crash. Kimsolve Incorporated, a company based out of Roanoke, Virginia that owns the truck, sent a hazmat crew to unload the truck. Highway Patrol says they don't know what caused the crash at this time. Betharbara Road should reopen within the next hour once a contractor completes repair work on a water main line. A water main break damaged part of the bridge over Monarchus Creek, forcing crews to shut the road down between Old Town Road and Silas Creek Parkway. Water service has been restored to customers at this time. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spent the day on Capitol Hill answering lawmakers' questions about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Blinken referred to the evacuations as heroic, but lawmakers pushed further on the number of Americans and Afghan allies left behind. The secretary said the federal government did everything it could to get all Americans out of Afghanistan before August 31st deadline. Secretary Blinken added officers are staying in contact with roughly 100 American citizens still in Afghanistan who want to leave the country. Hurricane Nicholas made landfall over the Gulf Coast of Texas this morning as a Category 1 storm before being downgraded to a tropical storm. This video shows the strong winds whipping across Texas, knocking power lines from more than 300,000 people as a storm surge floods streets. The storm is expected to trek northeast slowly into Texas and later over Louisiana as the state continues dealing with damage from Hurricane Ida.
Here at home, all talks have been about the heat, and that's the story even on today. I mean, standing outside in the weather garden, I'm feeling the heat. Luckily, I have this tree right here to block the sunshine, but for the most part, it has just been shining out there. I know my microphone, you guys can hear that popping there. This time lapse kind of showing the hazy skies that we saw earlier today, making way for clearer skies thereafter, and then cumulus clouds started to push in for the latter part of the day. A lot of folks talking about the air quality, and yes, that's all due to those smoke plume air, allowing for air quality index to ride around moderate. Now, the pollen report for today, high for trees. So if you have a tree allergen, it is a moderate level. And even looking at weeds, moderate as well, but grass is staying low. Feels like temperatures across the area just plain old hot. I mean, 85 is what it feels like in Greensboro, but 88 there in Burlington and 88 as well in Winston-Salem. Across the board, we're all dealing with hot temperatures. This is what it feels like heading out the door. We're starting to get moisture building in not like what we had over the weekend or even the latter part of last week. Those dew points climbing into the upper 60s, those temperatures also around those upper 80s, both working together to just make it feel hot outside. Here's a look at the setup. High pressure, that's what's been mostly in control across the area even now. But as that high pressure shifts east, we're going to be on the back side of things where winds come out of the south. I've been talking about it over the last several days. As those winds continue to come out of the south, they just bring in tropical air, which means heat and humidity. This cold front dropping a little bit further south will allow for maybe a scattered stray shower or storm for your Wednesday, but I have more details on what's going on elsewhere in the tropics coming up.
Well, from Clemens to New York City, one local artist helped design one of the most talked about outfits from last night's Met Gala.
Yeah, WFNY News 2's Jalen Gilkey chatted with Clemens' own Zach Foster about his cozy design.
Well, earlier today, Zach told me never in his wildest dreams did he think one of his quilt designs would make its way to the red carpet. But it did. And not only did Zach's design appear on the red carpet, it was accompanied by the couple the people wanted to see the most.
It's just a dream, because then we see Rocky step out and he's wearing the quilt and he's all bundled up, you know, like a robe. And he's walking down the carpet, he's walking up the stairs, Rihanna's smiling, everybody's having a good time. And then he gets halfway up and he's just like, boom, and he opens it up, and that's when you can see my contribution for the first time.
Zach Foster has been making quilts for the last 10 years. During that time, his work has gotten quite the attention, so much so he got a very special call before this year's Met Gala.
And just about 2 weeks ago, I got reached out to from the designer in LA. His name is Eli Russell Annetz, who had that vintage puffy quilt that everybody saw ASAP Rocky wearing. And he's like, we need a back for it, because the back was just kind of a plain gray. And he says, we really like your style. We like what you do. So we would love if you could make something that would really stand out on the red carpet. So that red side that you see is all mine.
So if you're unfamiliar, the Met Gala has a theme every year, and this year's theme was the American Dream. And there isn't an outfit that theme was represented in more than a small town artist moving to the big city to chase his dream.
Love it, the
Wow.
American dream. That looks so comfortable too. Like I can cuddle up in that in the wintertime.
Unless it's 90 degrees out.
Yeah,
Then it's
unless
not
it's 90
comfortable.
degrees.
Now, Jalen, I love this story because I saw this outfit and I was like, what are they wearing? But now that I
Craziness.
know the
Craziness.
history, like the story behind it,
Yeah.
it makes more sense. It makes more sense.
I'm gonna be honest. Every year the Met Gala confuses me.
Same.
I thought I was a fashion guy, but like they take it to a whole nother level that I just can't even comprehend.
And
so.
you always see those runway outfits. You're like, who wears that? You know, like, that's the only place that you see those things.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the Met Gala is for.
I don't either.
All I
I
know
think
is
they
that
raise
they have
money.
just like a ridiculous wardrobe requirement, right? Wasn't like Lady Gaga one year wearing like a meat dress?
Yes.
Is that what she wore, the meat
I
dress
couldn't tell
to?
you. I think there was
Yeah.
a meat dress that
Yeah.
made an appearance. I don't know if that was the Met Gala or not.
Just saying
I,
that.
It
I
was
do
made
know
of-
that they raise money for whatever charity it is every year. So that is
that's
the
good.
purpose of the event. But I listen, it's
I
above
know.
my head.
Right.
It's like the more ridiculous you dress,
Yes.
the best dressed you are.
It's
for
like
this
those
event.
car concept, the concept cars that come out at the auto show that you never see again. They always
Right.
look really
Yeah.
good. It's just like that.
My favorite moment from the Met Gala, just period, was when Jason Derulo fell down the steps. Do y'all remember that?
I remember
No.
that.
That was
I think
such
I
a
do.
great
Twitter
time for
went
me.
crazy.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh yes, social media. Poor guy, it's horrible.
All
All right,
right. Great story, Jalen.
we'll take a break. We'll see you in a bit.
A 20-year try-it tradition is making a comeback after it was canceled last year due to COVID-19. Men Can Cook is the Women's Resource Center of Greensboro's largest fundraiser. The event will feature more than 30 community chefs, local men who offer donated samples of their signature dishes, and dazzle the crowd with their culinary skills. Former board member Mebin Ham says these are not professional chefs, but men who support the work of the center.
They know how to cook and they're excited about cooking. They like to cook. They're engaging. They know something about the center. And like I said, anything from banana pudding to ice cream to Buckeyes, it's delightful, the food that they create.
The center helps more than 9,000 women annually become self-reliant by assisting with job placement and much more. In 2019, the event garnered more than $100,000. Mebin says the center took a major hit when the event was canceled last year.
And our doors didn't close. People needed the services and what Women's Resource Center even more last year, even more going into the future. So we missed that opportunity, and we missed the funding, of course, and we missed connecting up with our chefs.
Men Can Cook is Saturday, October 2nd, and traditionally the event has been at the Greensboro Coliseum, but due to COVID, it will be at the Painted Plate at the Vineyard to allow for indoor and outdoor seating options. And there's also an online auction that started yesterday that's going to run through the 19th, coupled with this event to help raise some funds.
So when I was on the Good Morning Show, we had them in every single year, and they would always talk about, the men would say, the hardest part about it is not doing your favorite recipe, it's doing it in a bigger quantity and trying to figure out how much to do. So
how much of a sample to
right.
bring. It just looks like a lot of fun, and I love that it's not professional chefs, so you can have like this little rivalry with like maybe your neighbor or your friends of who can cook the best dish.
I think it'd be fun to organize some sort of, you know how they do like a paint and
Sip.
the wine and design,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I think it would be fun to organize one that's just for men with regards to cooking. And it could, right? Like just like a guy's night out.
Like a cook and sip.
It's always like a women's night out,
Yeah.
right? So maybe we can organize a guy's night out, one of these. Oh, it's going to get out of control if you do
It
that,
would.
though.
It would. Have you ever done one of the wine and design things?
No, I've never.
So I did one with my wife one time, and she always jokes that she has, I like to draw, so I actually like to paint and that kind of stuff. She does not, and when we held them up together, she was so mad at how hers looked next to mine.
Really?
She put it up in our kids' room because it looks like a kid's finger paint. I'll have to show that. I'll show that on TV.
I would love to see that. Those are always a lot of fun. But again, all these details on this event, they're on our website.
I think I'm going to call it Baking and Brews.
Yes.
Ooh.
Or Bros Baking and Brews. I don't know.
Sure. Where we were going.
It's the
We'll
best
be right back. Well, some say it's a hidden gem, others say it is almost world-renowned for country cooking, but almost everybody says the Hillbilly Hideaway is incredible. Don't know if you've heard about this or not. I had a chance to go to this place, or heard about it rather, for years, but never got to go to it until this past weekend, and the food and then its story will stay with me for a long time. Owner Rosanna Jarvis says that they serve food in big bowls just like Sunday meals at your grandma's house, and it all started with her parents decades ago.
Decided when my dad always played live music and had his own band, and they would play on our front porch, and every Saturday, and we'd have like 100 friends and neighbors and family in the yard, and my dad would be playing music and my mom would cook. So she figured out that between those two talents that they need to start a business. So they started and built it from the ground up, and we opened the doors in December of 1978. And we also knew at that time my mom wanted to cook and serve like my grandmother. So bring everything to the table, whatever we've prepared, and all you wanted to eat. And from there, they also started the music show in a separate building and served the food and cooked everything from scratch, North Carolina recipes, all based on what my grandmother would serve.
Rosanna said her parents worked nonstop in the beginning to establish themselves as the best place for country cooking around, even working out a deal with the then brand new Duke Energy plant built just a few miles down the road.
For the first several years we were open 7 days a week with 4 meals a day. We would do a 2 a.m. dinner to the Duke Energy staff, the workers there, and we would have, at least 200 or more of them at 2 in the morning to have their dinner.
So it was interesting when she was telling me this story, and I said, I got to do a story on you because it's so interesting. So her parents, they worked so hard. It was literally 7 days a week. And she said that 2 a.m. meal, which I thought was so interesting, they went to Duke Energy because the husband was working there part-time, and said, these guys that are working this strange shift, they need dinner at 2 a.m. So we'll do it. So 200 of them from the plant would come in every night, and they would get up and serve them at 2 a.m.
My goodness.
Yeah, they're open 3 days a week now, but they used to be all 7. And in our next half hour, we're going to talk about her story, because she literally grew up like in the restaurant, living there part-time.
It surprises me that you hadn't been there.
I'd heard about it for decades and never went, and my wife and I were driving back this weekend from my band gig, and we saw it. And I said, let's go, and we went in there. Great place.
Very cool, and it's so cool to hear that story, because a lot of time we go to these different restaurants and we just don't know the history behind them. So they really are a staple in this community.
She will come up to your table and tell you her whole story, trust me.
Okay.
She loves it. Yes, we're going to get more from Rosanna coming up in just a minute.
Looking forward to it. Hey, we're on Facebook. A couple of people are talking. We're talking back. Come say hello.
Come chat with us.
We do that.
Once in a while.
Sometimes.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Do you want me to stand outside?
This is a downtown.
Do you want me to stand outside? Hello? Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Do you want me to stand outside, I was saying? Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
All right, so it's been hot and humid across the triad for this Tuesday. This is a look at that same surface map. I kind of want to show it to you guys again. The high pressure moving out, pumping in the tropical moisture from the south. We have a couple features that are bringing in moisture to our area, but not allowing for widespread rainfall or scattered storms throughout the rest of the week. We have this cold front dropping a little bit further south. Then we also have Nicholas, what's left of it, across the deep south as we go through your Wednesday and your Thursday. But none of them exactly bring in a lot of storm activity to our area. Not expecting that over the next several days. This futurecast showing throughout the end of today staying dry. Wednesday, what we're starting to see is increased cloud cover across the area, then possibly a scattered late day shower or storm, but a very small chance on Wednesday. That's that cold front staying well to the north through Virginia, not really allowing for us to see it here at home. On Thursday, much of the same story. A lot of clouds, very small chance for a late day shower or storm. So planning out your Wednesday will warm up, but not as warm as today, as I'm expecting a little bit more cloud cover. And then there's also that risk chance of a scattered storm for the latter part of the day. But overall, not expecting a washout at all. I mean, for not even the next 5 days. I mean, we do have rain chances in the forecast, but they're all on the low end for the next 5 days. So again, not expecting a washout for the next several days, but maybe for the afternoon, we may have a pop-up shower or storm, but overall weather conditions aren't expected to get too active over the next 5 days. Here's a look at that full 7 days, showing you the full forecast on there. The temperatures a little bit cooler on Thursday and Friday, and that's all due to more clouds out, but not really much of a change when we talk about the humidity. It still sticks around.
When we push the blame on others, we might think we're giving the responsibility to someone else. But in today's U-Day segment, Coach Lamont explains how we are actually becoming a prisoner to that blame.
A problem will still exist whether you acknowledge it or not. Now, we must confront all issues so that we remain in our best mental and spiritual state. The thing about a problem is many of us are constantly in a pro-blame state, blaming everything wrong in our lives on someone else. We have these internal conversations saying to ourselves, I can't forget what they did. They hurt me. I was rejected by them, and my life is the way that it is because of what they did. Okay, breathe. Now take back the power from those that you are blaming. Now face your problems by first owning them, and once you own the problem, confront the problem. Keep this one thing in mind. You will never conquer in life what you refuse to confront, and you will never move forward because blame is a weight that anchors you down in despair. Swallow your pride, face you, so you can be the best version of you. This is Coach Lamont reminding you to have your best U-Day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together like a classic combination.
Can you hear me now? Mic check, Jalen. Can you hear me now? Mic check, Jalen. Cool.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Eric Chilton here with Chad Silber, Monique Robinson, Lauren Coleman, and Jalen Gilkey.
Yep, and there's so many ways you can watch us. You can watch us on air, you can watch us online, Fire Stick, and Roku.
And it's a hot one outside today. Monique Robinson, I know she's enjoying the heat and the humidity coming back out in the old weather garden. But she's going to tell us later whether this is going to keep happening here for the next couple of days or whether we're going to get some relief in just a minute.
Yep. We'll check in with her in a little bit, but first we have another top story. Visitation policies are changing again at Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. All visitors must be at least 18 years old. Anyone visiting must pass a health screening and wear a face mask at all times. Parents are only allowed to bring children as visitors to outpatient visits if childcare is unavailable. The changes impact visitors for inpatient, outpatient, maternity, emergency department, and surgical services. COVID-19 patients will not be able to have visitors. These changes take effect immediately.
The changes come as hospitals deal with capacity issues because of a rise in coronavirus hospitalizations. Today, Cone Health says its ICU beds are at 95% capacity. Just yesterday, it was 90%. Overall, Cone says it is treating 156 coronavirus patients. That's down from the 166 patients on Saturday. Cone's all-time high, however, was back in January at 265. At the state level, there are just shy of 3,700 patients. It's about 200 fewer than some of our numbers last week, but it's still very high.
As hospitalizations remain high, a viewer asked WFNY News 2's Megan Milleris to verify the circumstances surrounding those deaths.
That sound means it's time to verify. This is a heavy one today about an important COVID-19 metric, and I want to warn you, if you've lost a loved one due to COVID-19, this information might be triggering because this verify is about COVID deaths. We get this question quite often. Ken Burrell asked, Megan, is there a way to verify that all deaths are actually from COVID? That's a fair question, Ken, and we've seen a lot of confusion about this since the CDC published its COVID-19 comorbidity report, showing 94% of COVID-reported deaths from February to December 2020 had more than one cause. Only 6% of death certificates listed COVID-19 as the only cause. So let's verify. Our sources are the CDC, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and infectious disease physician Chris Uhl with Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. They all say yes, COVID-reported deaths are COVID deaths, but COVID-19 might not be the primary cause.
It has to be listed on the death certificate as either the primary cause or a contributing cause of death. Sometimes, particularly the contributing cause can be a little bit in the gray zone, and then it's up to the doctor who is dictating the death certificate.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services notes our state's COVID deaths include people who have a positive COVID test, who passed away without fully recovering from COVID and had no alternative cause of death identified. The CDC's reporting guidance here is broader. It explains in most COVID-reported deaths, COVID is likely the underlying cause, listed below the immediate cause. For example, COVID-19 could prompt acute respiratory acidosis or lung failure, which is what ultimately caused the person to pass away. And where the reporting can get tricky.
For instance, if a person was in the hospital for 45 days with the initial admission for COVID and the actual death is due to a stroke complicating a long ICU stay, how would you record that death? Usually that would be recorded as a stroke as the primary cause and COVID as a supporting or contributing factor. Those are then be counted.
Dr. Uhl said that's why sometimes there can be some over-reporting of deaths in all public health scenarios. Yet national infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci testified before a Senate committee last year that he thought COVID deaths were actually underreported. Either way, experts note these counts even out over time and do provide an accurate measure of the trends. In conclusion, we verified, yes, it's true. COVID-reported deaths are from COVID, but in many cases, COVID is the contributing and not the immediate factor of death. The physician must determine those factors and record them on the death certificate. Please remember, as we talk about this, behind every number is a person and a family who is grieving. The CDC reports we've lost more than 643,000 Americans to COVID-19 since this pandemic started. And health experts emphasize time and again, the best way to prevent severe cases of COVID-19 is to get the vaccine. With your Verify, I'm Megan Malaris.
If you see a claim on social media and want to know if it's true, take a screenshot, then send a selfie video or short paragraph of your question to verify@WFNY.com.
All right, now time for your 4 to 5 roundup. First up, Fort Bragg will likely be getting a new name. It held a town hall with the city of Fayetteville today to consider renaming. An act passed by Congress last year requires military installations named after Confederate soldiers to be renamed. The post began as Camp Bragg in 1918. The base is named after Confederate General Braxton Bragg for his role in the Mexican-American War. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is collecting used coats, hats, gloves, and scarves to give to people in need. They're collecting items until 6 p.m. today at the North Church Street location of the Sheriff's Office.
All right, and in the beginning of the 4 p.m. hour, we talked about the tropics, but I want to draw our eyes back to Nicholas, which is now a tropical storm. Some key things I just want you to look at is the moving rate. It is moving at towards the east-northeast at 7 miles per hour. I bet you can walk at that speed. That's the speed that this system is moving at. I mean, it's just inundating portions of Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama with very heavy rainfall for hours at this point. And we know Louisiana is still picking up the pieces from a storm nearly just a couple of weeks ago. You can see the track on this system. It looks like it's not moving much, and that's because the system is moving just so slowly. The track is kind of just sitting right around New Orleans, right around Louisiana and even Texas there, but specifically talking about New Orleans because that's a place that is still without power in a lot of locations, all due to Ida just recently. Now, when we zoom out to the wider view of the tropics, we do have 2 other areas to watch, and especially this bad boy over there just off the west coast of Africa that's been tagged as Invest 95 there. You can see as this system continues to move towards the west, we're going to definitely have to keep a close eye on it. It does have a high chance of development, not anything yet, but does have the probability of becoming something very soon. The names on it, Odette would be the next name. So we already have Nicholas briefly upgraded to a category 1 just earlier today in the wee hours. But again, Odette would be the next name. We are in the heart of the peak of the season, so the potential for more activity is very likely over the next several weeks.
The upcoming SpaceX launch includes all civilians as crew, and here they are from left to right. You've got a billionaire businessman, a geoscience professor, a physician's assistant, and a data engineer. All right, so here's my question, folks. If you got picked, like these folks did, would you go into space?
I would.
She raised her hand. She's like, yes, I'm in.
Why not? You only live once.
I would too, but I'd also want to see what it's like to be the billionaire businessman.
Yeah, that would be a nice one too, right? All right, Monique, I'm definitely thinking you're definitely going.
Oh, if they pulled up and asked me right now, bye.
See ya. Someone else can do the weather, right? Chill Tony.
Maybe give me some medicine and then I could go.
Yeah, because you don't even like to fly.
I know. I would love to do it. I'd just be scared to death, but I think I'd have to push myself.
All right, so now my question is, what do you think is the hardest adjustment in being in space for a week or two, like with your everyday kind of life stuff?
No gravity.
Yeah, no gravity.
Right, but like what makes it hard? Is there something specific that you think would be harder than anything else?
Using the restroom, let's be honest.
Using the restroom, yes.
Brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth, using the restroom.
Not knowing the time, like isn't time different?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Well,
That's
yeah, you wouldn't get that normal sun up, sun down.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so NASA astronaut Megan McArthur recently posted an amusing video from the International Space Station of her trying to wash her hair. So look.
I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this no rinse shampoo, and then I go ahead and I rub it in a little bit just like you would on Earth. Rub that in, and then I like to take my comb and comb it out through to the ends.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
Can you even imagine?
I've never seen anything like that. Wow.
It would look like Medusa's hair or whatever else. All right. So then my question is, how about eating? We've all seen the freeze-dried space ice cream, right?
I love that stuff.
Yes.
It is good, right? All by itself. But MacArthur then talked about the danger of the squeeze packets of food. So listen to this.
If you are eating too fast and you get some of that liquid airborne, it's going to go everywhere. It's going to get on your crewmates. You're going to find it a week later, by the ductwork or something. And so every little thing that you take for granted on Earth when all your stuff stays put is a little bit more challenging in space.
All right. So we complain when the microwave doesn't do its job.
Yeah.
I'm wondering because I know the body, like when we chew food and swallow, that it kind of pushes it down. But if you have no gravity, I wonder if you're more likely to get choked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is the food floating around? I don't know.
I'm just thinking about sneezing. You really got to put your arm in the elbow to make sure it doesn't.
These are all the things that you just don't think about, right? Until you're up in space and all that thing. All right, the thing I can't get over, not to mention all those life things, is the weird feeling like they say that you're on like a roller coaster all the time. Count me out. But send me a postcard, because that's old school. We'll be right back.
So in our last half hour, we talked about the Hillbilly Hideaway Country Restaurant in Walnut Cove and what an institution it is, not only for Stokes County, but the whole region, really. But I wanted to introduce you to the current owner. Rosanna Jarvis took the restaurant over after her parents passed away years ago, but her story with the restaurant didn't begin there. She spent most of her time, even as a child, helping out in the family business. The restaurant was more like her home.
I grew up in it, and I would be there when they were feeding those men at 2 in the morning, and as a little girl, and they had me a special place I would stay and do my homework and then lay down, and then they would scoop me up, take me to the house when we were all finished.
Rosanna had 2 kids of her own, and both grew up in the restaurant just like she did. I asked her if she thought they would continue in the family business and take it into the next generation.
They also have grown up in it. I remember when my little boy was about 3 years old, he told me one day, "I want to be a cooker when I grow up." And so he loved watching his papa and nanny and all of us in the restaurant. And my daughter, she's a big personality, and she's at the cash register, and my son runs the cash register and actually works wherever I need him when I need him. So they're hands-on now as teenagers, just like I was. So I feel that when the day comes, I feel like they'll be trained.
Rosanna says it will always be a family restaurant with a family feel, right down to the huge bowls of food that seem to never stop coming.
I want them to feel like they have been with friends and family, and almost like that they are at their grandmother's house. I'll never forget one time I was putting the food on the table, and this little boy, his eyes got bigger and bigger, and he finally looked up his mom, and he asked her, he said, "Is it Thanksgiving?"
So much food. He was taken aback. All right, so I asked you on Facebook to let me know your favorite restaurant for country cooking, and a lot of people chimed in on this. Brittany says Cracker Barrel, so good. Sharon said the classic in Denton, and she likes the Hillbilly Hideaway as well. Kimberly says love Hillbilly Hideaway. Their breakfast is absolutely delicious. And Sharon McKinnon Connor says my mom's house. She is the best cook ever. A lot of people think that, that's for sure, about their own moms. Glenda says the Coliseum Country Cafe, good food and good prices. We had a lot of people mention the Coliseum Country Cafe, and I'm not familiar with that one, so we're going to have to check that one out. One thing that Rosanna said that I thought was so funny, she said that they literally had a place for her to do homework in the back. So they lived at that restaurant, and it was their house was next door, so they could be, but she had a cot. And sometimes she'd have to go to sleep because the restaurant would be open late and they'd be cleaning everything. She said one night her mom and dad forgot that she was in there, and they both got back to the house and said, "Did you put Rosanna down?" "No, I didn't." "You didn't?" And they both ran back and she was still asleep in the restaurant when she was just a little thing. But her stories are great. She's really good friends with Billy Ray Cyrus. She was on The Price is Right. I mean, this woman has done a lot of things, and you got to go spend an hour or two talking to her about
She
it.
deserves a documentary.
No kidding.
So do you all have a favorite? So Cracker Barrel is my #1 favorite. Would you consider Waffle House?
Not
Probably
really
not
country.
Yeah. I think, you know, back when Smith Street Diner was open in downtown Greensboro, that was one of my favorites. They're not around anymore, but that was a good one.
Paula Deen's is pretty good, kind of
Yes.
set up the same way that this restaurant is set up, where they come out with the large bowls and you just keep eating and they're bottomless, so that's pretty good. And I'd also have to say my grandmother and my mom.
Yeah,
because it's full of
Always
soul.
good. That's right, and love. This place, by the way, there's one fee. They don't really tell you, there's not really a menu, it's just they bring everything out. I mean, it's like meatloaf and mashed potatoes and fried chicken and ham and biscuits and green beans and pinto beans, and they put it all on the table in big bowls, and you just serve yourself, and if you run out, they just bring more out. So it's one fee, it's like an all-you-can-eat kind of thing. My kids loved it.
So does the menu change day by day? Like you might come in this day and they have fried chicken, and then the next day they have fried catfish?
I asked her, she said they do a fish one night, and they flip-flop some things, but like most of the veggies are staples, and they always stay the same.
Nice.
This fried biscuit they have, that's all I'm gonna say. We'll go to break.
Gotta check this out.
If you're like me, you love a good surprise, especially if it brings out the best in people.
A Texas company is doing just that and teaching us that all good things come to those who wait.
I got tons I have to do.
Whenever Dalworth Restoration tackles a project, it's because someone asked for help.
Absolutely.
So imagine the surprise when out of the blue, General Manager Robin Kent and her team showed up to start a project nobody was expecting.
It surprises a lot of people.
What were they here to restore? Kindness.
We're taking care of y'all's bill today.
Each of the last 5 years, for one entire month, the company goes around North Texas doing good deeds.
Yeah, we're restoring kindness across the community.
They show up unannounced, and each time they do, it changes people.
It just makes you feel good inside. What a pleasant surprise. It's a great treat.
On this day, Dalworth paid for coffee and food at Moss Coffee and Zavala's Barbecue in Grand Prairie.
We're doing restoring kindness, so we're going to take care of it for you, okay?
Over the past few weeks, they've bought lunch for strangers, ice cream for healthcare workers, and sweets for first responders. And last week, they sent semis filled with equipment to Louisiana to help clean up after the hurricane. Every good deed comes with a card, urging customers to pay it forward.
It makes you want to do the same for someone else.
I'll most definitely be paying it forward as well.
With everybody trying to restore kindness, I feel like it's just going to make the world a better place.
When you're in the business of restoration, you see some amazing transformations. But Robin hopes by paying it forward, the most drastic change will be seen in each other.
I would rather them know us for what we do for our community than what we do as a business.
Because kindness is always good business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Oh, that's great to see. Especially, I love that they're doing this for first responders, for healthcare workers, because I can't imagine what it must be like to be in those professions right now.
Absolutely, and I love how unexpected it is, because you just never know when someone's having like a rough day, and it's like, hey, we're paying for this meal. Just the small things can really like turn your day
absolutely
right side up.
Yeah, I always believe in the ripple effect. I always think that if you do something nice, even if it's something small, it puts somebody else in a good mood, and usually, not always, usually they'll do something for somebody else. I do think that works.
Yeah, when I was in Starbucks the other day around this area, there was a Starbucks that they have little messages that people leave, and you can write one and you can take one. So I thought that was a cool thing. I've never seen that before.
I love when you hear about how people pay for the person behind them in the drive-thru, and it goes on for like 8 hours at a time, and you can't last forever. But I mean, it's great to see that there are that many people who are willing to help out their fellow neighbor.
When I lived in Florida, they used to do that in the toll booths. Like somebody would go through and just give $5 and say just pay for the next 4 or whatever, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's helpful, because sometimes you don't have enough change.
See, now then you're going to break it. You're going to break that streak if you don't have the money to pay for the person behind you.
But you have to bless someone else in other ways. Whether you can't do it right then and there, you always just pay it forward in what way you can.
True. I like that. Okay. I like that. Quick question, 93 or 39 degrees?
93.
Which do you prefer, if you had to pick one?
39.
Wait, say that again, Jen?
93 or 39? We were having this conversation today.
Both not good, but 39.
93.
I said 93 too.
93 too. We're going to get close to that, aren't we, Monique?
Oh, look at that Chad over there. That guy's a smart one. We love to see it. Today, not so much. But, I mean, we've seen temperatures like that over the last several weeks. Now, I should have said 39, because eventually we'll get there, but not today, not even tomorrow. Here's a look at sky cams across Greensboro. You can see those cumulus clouds kind of pushing in, but the radar completely dry, not expecting any rainfall. Now, when we talk about the humidity, we're all going to be feeling it. These are riding around those numbers we don't like to see this time of year. We talk about fall. I mean, a lot of folks a couple of days ago thought fall was here to stay, but it didn't. And if you've walked outside today, you certainly were like, okay, fall, we need you to come on back. But you can see these dew point values in the upper 60s, near 70s, all screaming sticky when you walk out the door. Though there are 8 more days officially of summer, even though that 7-day forecast does include temperatures that feel more like summer and less like fall. Also just a fun thing to look forward to. 73 more days until Thanksgiving. And then we also see that fall season ending in December, which means we'll be able to transition into temperatures more like that 39. And here's one last look at that 7-day for you, showing you the numbers for the next 7 days. Very warm. Monday, 88. That's a little bit close to a 93. Not quite, but a hot one for you.
Can come in real quick, and maybe we'll take a quick picture.
The Purple People Eaters?
The Purple People Eaters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Purple People Eaters. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I can hear her. Can she hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm talking in my mic. Can she hear me? 1, 2. I'm talking into this little button as well. Can y'all hear me?
Like
1, 2.
literally talking into the
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Is someone talking to me? I hear blank silence. Sounds like someone's trying to hit the button. Now I hear it. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We got it. Oh yeah. Still haven't heard Callie, but I'm giving the mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey there, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont.
Hello, I have my mask on so I sound muffled, but I will be unmuffled in 1 moment.
Mic check 1, 2, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still waiting on Chad to help me figure out what I need to say during my mic check.
Ten 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1.
So it's time for my 2 cents, and today's is a special one for me. I got a call about 6 months ago from a lady who was in her late 80s, and she said, "Mr. Chilton, we would like for you to come speak at our 70th high school reunion." And I said, 70th? Where was this? She said, Griffith High School in Winston-Salem. It's not even a high school anymore. And I said, my dad taught there. And she said, that's why we want you to come. Take a look at some of these pictures. Sweetest group of people you've ever met in your life. There are only 14 members of the class of 1951 that are still around, but they get together through the decades. This is the 70th high school reunion for them. They asked me to come because they said they loved my father as a teacher. They let me participate in this rose ceremony they do when they lose a class member or a teacher administrator. They let you put a rose into this vase surrounded by candles. And although my father has been gone for many years, he passed away in 2003, they wanted me to do that in his honor because they loved him so much. They even gave me a framed picture of his image in the yearbook, and I got to open up someone's yearbook where my father had written them a note and signed his signature that I recognized right away, and saw that picture. We shared stories and memories of their high school experiences with my father, and I shared them about my life with my father. I want to say thank you to Gene Mahaffey and all of the former students, the class of 1951 for Griffith High School, for making my year. It was a wonderful evening. And that's just my 2 cents. And that's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
The Carolina Classic Fair returns in person in just weeks. You'll recall last year's fair in Winston-Salem was a drive-through event because of COVID-19.
But with more people vaccinated right now, organizers say it's full steam ahead. WFMY News 2 Sydney Moore